In this video, I want to tell you why, if you can't pressure a prospect or if you can't be intimidating, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And if you can't do high pressure sales, you still have a lot of advantages precisely because you can't use pressure. So let's take a look. So the first idea that I want to introduce is that high pressure sales are not the only type of sales. In fact, they may not even be the best type of sales. In any type of sale, there is usually a trade-off between pressuring the person and the quality of the deal. That is, if you pressure a person, they're going to be rushed into a decision. So yes, you are going to have more people that end up buying, but they may not be high-quality buyers. So there may be a lot of remorse, a lot of churn, and a lot of refunds. On the other hand, if you take the pressure off and you give people time to make their decision, or if you even challenge the sale and you say, even if you're ready to buy, wait on purpose to make sure that this is the best thing for you, what's going to happen is you close less people, but in return, these are going to be high quality people. So you're not going to have a lot of refunds, you're not going to have a lot of unhappy customers because they really know what they're getting themselves into. So this is a good segue to the first insight, which is not pressuring someone in a sale preserves your credibility and your authority. So what I mean here is you always want to recommend a product or a service or any value proposition as an objective recommendation, something that really is in the best interests of the person. And the moment that the person thinks that you're trying to sell something for your own purpose, you immediately shatter that image. That is, the image of the trusted advisor. The person must see you as someone who really has their best interests at heart and always recommends things in an objective manner. As in, these are your needs, this is the recommendation. So the moment that you start to put pressure, or the moment that they even sniff that there's something going on that you are selling for your own personal motives and not to help them, you immediately shatter that frame. But then the opposite also happens, which is, in my personal case, I've had clients that don't buy and I don't put pressure, but then they return after months and they say, hey, I wasn't ready to buy, but I saw you as a trusted advisor, someone who didn't want to push and did not want to force me into a decision and give me time. So now that I've had that time, I really conclude that this was the best option. So some people are not going to buy right away, but your image as a trusted advisor is going to be preserved. And that's the most important thing. Because if you pressure someone into a sale, you're going to have refunds, you're going to have bad reviews, and the word is just going to spread. And it only takes one person to state that you are not a trusted advisor, that you're not objective, to spread the word to many other people. And then the people that come to you to buy something are going to think from the get-go, hey, this person is not interested in serving my needs. They're only interested in closing a sale. And then from the beginning, they immediately trust you less. So for example, in my case, among my clients, I've always cultivated the image of someone who has their best interest at heart. And sometimes this means that I don't sell them something because I tell them to their face, you don't need this. I would love to charge you, but I'm not going to charge you because you don't need it. And because of this, you are going to have so much credibility and authority that people really see you as someone who is worth buying from, versus someone who is just selling to achieve their own goals and who doesn't care about them in the slightest. Now here's the key. Sometimes you do need to apply a little bit of pressure, but what I recommend in these cases always is to not apply the pressure yourself. That is, if you need to give them a deadline or you want to give them a gentle nudge in terms of buying, don't be the one to give them an ultimatum and look them in the eyes and say, hey, you need to buy, period. Usually, what you want to do is you want to use somebody else as an excuse or use the process as an excuse. For example, instead of telling a client, if you don't close this week, I'm not going to give you a 20% discount. Instead, you want to pin it on the system or the process. And you want to say something like, hey, unfortunately, due to the way that our IT systems are organized, unfortunately, we cannot provide this discount after this week. So only if you sign the contract and it's entered into our system this week, it's the only way that we can provide the discount. So you are still applying a little bit of pressure, but it's not you applying the pressure. On the other hand, there are a lot of high pressure people that almost take pride in subjugating the person, looking them in the eyes and saying, hey, I'm forcing you to sign right now. And this doesn't work. But this is precisely what causes that effect of being rushed into a decision and not liking the outcome, and then all types of negative ramifications stem from that. Now, if you have enough abundance, you can use a technique which is called challenging the yes. And I've learned from this technique from personal coach Rich Whitman, who I really admire, and he really mastered this technique. So this technique is used when you really want a client to be 100% sure that they're buying the right thing. So you don't care about having less clients, but you do care about making sure that every single client is really committed. So what you do is, when the person is ready to buy, just saying, hey, take my money, you want to stop them and you want to say, hey, Take some time, think about it, and make sure that this is really what you want. It's almost like you're doing a reverse close. When it's time to close, you're saying, hey, I don't want to close you yet. Take your time and think about whether you really want this. So in a way, if rushing a person into a decision is the best way to make sure that they don't want a product, then delaying their decision, even when they want to buy, is the best way to make sure that they really want a product or service. And naturally, you may lose a couple of people in this process because one person or two may take the time and they may think, you know what, this is not really what I wanted at the end of the day. But those people were probably going to churn, or they had a percentage of probability of churning anyway. And what happens is that you end up with clients or prospects that are only the ones who really want this 100%. Now, naturally, this would not be a complete video if I did not talk about the drawbacks of being low pressure. And the main one is the following. There are people who may buy your product, but they need a reason to buy it right now. So, for example, if you have a client that is willing to buy a consulting program, for example, they can buy it right now and they can buy it after 2 months. And if you don't give them a reason to buy it right now, they'll just defer the decision. And in many cases, life gets in the way, so they just forget about it or they try something else and they end up not buying. And in those cases, you can provide some sort of incentive to make them buy. But here's the thing, instead of using negative pressure, in my case, I like to use positive pressure. So what happens is, instead of telling the person, either you buy this week or the deal is off the table, I prefer to tell them, you can buy after this week and the price is the same. But if you buy this week, I'll give you a little bit of a discount. In other words, you are using pressure, but it's positive pressure. It's saying, hey, if you want the normal thing, you can buy it, no pressure. But if you want an even better thing, then there is a little bit of pressure. But it's still up to them to decide. You're not saying that the only option is under pressure. That's almost like buying under duress, and it's a surefire way to get refunds and to get churn. Instead, you're giving them options. You're saying, hey, would you rather have a worse thing with no pressure, or would you rather have a thing that's a little bit better, but with a little bit of pressure? So in short, if you can't pressure people, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to be a worse salesperson. In fact, your credibility and your authenticity are going to be off the chart because you are never pushing something just for your own personal goals. You are always going to have the person's best interests at heart, even when it means not selling something just to make their life better. And what's going to happen is you're going to have less clients, possibly, but they're going to be a lot more qualified and they're going to be a lot better clients. And if you have some sort of renewal product that just continues over time, you are going to have clients that are a lot happier in the long term. Don't forget to check out our channel for more negotiation, persuasion, and communication videos. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching.